Hi, my name is Dr. Nioka Smith. About 2 years ago, I released my testimony video about how I was sexually abused at the age of 14 by my biological father. At the same time, I released my book and my video that basically talks about how God gave me the tools to break free from every stronghold that was attached to me as a result of the sexual abuse. Because what happens with sexually abused women is that inside they die. Inside they are dying. And so many of our women and girls are going through this. As a matter of fact, every 98 seconds, somebody is sexually abused. Every 1 out of 4 girls will be or have been sexually abused. This means that if you have at least 1,000 girls or women on your timeline, at least 250 of them have been sexually abused. Well, if sexual abuse is this pervasive, if it's this rampant in our society, how come it's not talked about as much? How come it's still a stigma in our communities, in our families, and in our churches? A little bit after I had broken free, thank God to the pastor that allowed or helped me to break free from the sexual strongholds, the apostle. But a little bit after that had happened, I was free. I was 100% whole. A preacher approached me to conduct some of my workshops inside of the church that I was attending. Well, immediately after that, the pastor came back, the senior pastor, a different pastor, came back and said, no, we cannot allow her to speak to the women and girls about sexual abuse. And so I sat down with the senior pastor and I asked him why. Why is it that, I just wanted to know why. And he told me that the reason is because, and he looked me in my eyes and he told me, with this look on his face that made me feel like he was looking at me like in disgust, like sexual abuse, like it was me. And some of the things that he said made me feel that way too. I don't have time to get into all of that. But one thing that stuck out to me that this pastor said to me was that you are not allowed to talk about that. He said, you can talk about anything else, but you can't talk about what God has called you for. You can't talk about the sexual abuse. The reason you cannot talk about it, he said, is because it's too, quote unquote, it's too graphic. The sexual abuse, the thing that happened to you, is too graphic. And I thought to myself, well, yeah, it's graphic. It's really graphic because it's sexual abuse. So there is no pretty way to talk about sexual abuse. It's graphic, but guess what? It's a thing that's happening, and it's happening to our women and girls inside of our churches. And I told him that it's happening to a lot of women and girls within this church. They have approached me and told me. And even though I had told him all of that, he still said, well, oh no, the nature of it is too graphic. And so therein lies the stigma. Therein lies the way that Satan is still deceiving our people, into believing that we're supposed to keep quiet, that we're supposed to shut our mouths when we want the ones who told that person to molest us. Satan wants us to stay in darkness. He wants our women and girls to stay in darkness. He wants people to look at it as if it's a stigma or if it's too graphic to talk about. Well, God has given us the power to cast out everything that woman or girl has gone through. And is this not a church? So I am coming to you not in anger at anyone but the enemy. I am coming to you all in love and in support as an advocate for my women and girls who I call my sisters, who have been sexually abused. Please, if you are a pastor, if you are a minister, if you are a family member, a loved one that somebody has told you or you've heard that somebody has gone through sexual abuse, can we please stop turning our heads? Can we please stop turning our backs to these people? Because these are the very people that Jesus would have walked up to. These are the very people that Jesus would have sat with. These are the very people that he wouldn't have got up and left until they were healed. And that's why I'm here. I want us to stop encouraging them to keep quiet. And the way that our communities can help, if you see somebody that comes out and they on social media and they come out and they tell their testimony and they talk about how they were abused, please don't scroll by. Hit the like button. Hit the share button. That's support. You don't have to be a counselor. You don't have to be a minister. Hit the share button. Comment on it and say, I'm proud of you. This pastor did not one time tell me, I'm proud of you for making it out of that. I'm proud of you for overcoming that and being free and going back to help other women. Not one time he looked at me and he said, it's too graphic. And some other words. So today I want to recite my poem that I wrote, and it's in support of all the women and girls. I love you, and I pray that this blesses you, and I pray that it encourages pastors and family members to stop shushing them, and let's do something about it. Let's let's learn about it. It's called The Victim's Cry. Here we go. When are our loved ones going to stop encouraging us to keep it a secret? When are our churches going to stop acting like it's non-existent, tiptoeing around the issue like it's one that Jesus missed, like it's one he hasn't given us Christians the power to fix, telling us there's no place in the church for it because what happened to us was too graphic? Afraid to touch on the issue, afraid of how folks may look at you, afraid of what may be revealed, afraid of who may just get healed, ignorant to the issue so you neglect how God's child really feels. Too scared to say a word, too unlearned so you reject her pain from being heard. Looking at her like there's a scarlet letter on her chest, like she wasn't the one attacked and forced to get undressed. This is part of the reason she's afraid to speak out, afraid to reach out, afraid to seek help, afraid to seek God, because she receives the impression that she's an abomination. No support or affirmation. No wonder she can see how she's God's greatest creation. God intended his church to be a place of healing, a place of striving, but you won't acknowledge that the sexual abused woman isn't living, she's dying. Encouraged to keep her mouth shut, encouraged to suffer in silence, to die slowly inside because of somebody else's violence. You see, I know the torture she goes through. I know the prison she lives in. I know the box she crawls into and feels forced into. I know the inner screams. I know the nightmare scenes. I know the crammed up anger. I know what it feels like to look in the mirror and see a stranger. Because she was forced to open a door to someone she never invited in. She was forced to take on the shame of somebody else's crooked sin. I know how it feels to be trapped between then and now. What it feels like to feel like your abuser is still on the prowl. Forced to live in a world alone to cope on her own. Because every single thing about the world she once knew was now damaged or gone. Nobody to turn to. She breathes in fear, breathes out anger. Breathes in hopelessness, breathes out depression, breathes in worthlessness, breathes out anxiety. Insecure, unsure, unstable. Tries to live a normal life, but somehow she's unable. I know what it feels like to cry and not be heard. Or to never shed a tear, but to cry from your soul. Or what it feels like to replay your abuser's words in your head every day. Like, I said shut up. I said stop. Or, nobody will believe a word you say. Because no matter how hard you try to block out the memories of the past, they invade your mind just like the abuser invaded your body, just like the abuser invaded your soul, just like the abuser invaded your life. and your ability to live, your ability to live, your ability to live. I know what it feels like to look at yourself in disgust, like, what was the matter with me? Why wasn't I valuable enough? Why was I the one he so wrongly touched? How everything in your environment triggers that painful moment. The way somebody smacks on their food or the way somebody looks at you. I know what it feels like to have that instance follow you years and years later. I know what it feels like to relive every day, every moment inside your head. I know what it feels like to live and be dead.